Hey guys, what's up? It's Sarah Jane. Thank you for coming back to my YouTube channel.
You wouldn't stay still.
The cat might be a hint to the next movie we're reviewing. Because there's cat lyrics in 2 of his songs, at least, that I know of.
What you're talking about.
And I'm wearing fabulous clothing because we are reviewing
Rocketman.
Rocketman! Burning on the fumes of heaven. Anyway, so I know it was the wrong lyric. Leave me alone.
Okay, I was about to say like.
So we're reviewing Rocketman. I've seen it twice as of tonight.
Only once.
Tony's seen it once, but we're gonna see it again because spoilers, it was good. So something you need to think about before you get into this movie is the fact that it's not a normal movie.
Don't expect it to be like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's like song how it got to there, song how
like
it got
a
to
story type thing. It's more of
how Elton saw it through his.
It's called a biopic. It's basically his version of it through his eyes and like trying to incorporate the music into what he would see or think or feel. I watched an interview with Taron Egerton, who plays Elton John in this. Taron Egerton plays Eggsy in Kingsman. That's where I know him from. He is an amazing man. He did sing I'm Still Standing and sing as Johnny. He was really good in that, and I didn't even realize it was him until after I saw it the first time. He's amazing. He's a really good actor. I am a little starstruck with him.
Eggsy is just he looks and just sounds like an amazing dude. To honestly,
he's a brat in Kingsman, but he's still the sexy suave agent who's young and cocky and knows what he's doing. So in this film, it was really surprising to see him as Elton John.
Or Reggie.
Reginald Dwight. He did really well with it. And Elton actually came out in the CD version of this and talked about how he didn't want it to be his voice overlaid and him like singing his song,
or
like pretending to singing his songs like they did with Bohemian Rhapsody. However, with Bohemian Rhapsody there was no other choice because Freddie Mercury is unfortunately no longer with us. Still tears my heart out to this day. He died before I was even born.
Sarah, it still tears a lot of people's hearts out.
Nowadays, if you got HIV or AIDS in any way,
it's manageable.
There's ways to save, like, there's ways to overcome it, and there's ways to help that. And I think the main reason why there is because of Elton John and because of the campaigns that happened after Freddie Mercury passed. Because Elton John raised like billions or millions of dollars to AIDS relief.
Anyways.
So this movie was a very dramatic view of his life.
But honestly, made sense.
It did, and it was crazy how much sense it made. It's almost like he did kind of mention, Taron kind of mentioned this in an interview where he said that Elton had different thoughts on how things felt for him when he performed them or when he did them, and he was on a lot of drugs at the time, and did drink a lot and had a lot of those things. So when he said he felt like he was on air, he felt like he was floating, that's where those kinds of moments interact, and they literally made him float, or they literally made him bolt out into outer space and stuff. So there's some really weird things, but it made sense with the way that they were doing it. I did not know the dark past of Elton John.
I only vaguely knew. Vaguely.
I think I knew he went to rehab, but I didn't realize like where his mind was at and how bad it had become. So watching this movie gained a perspective on him. It, to me, so there's a lot in this movie. There's a certain point where it gets to his lower part of himself. People who are fans of Elton John know that he attempted suicide. And there's a lot of depression and him hiding that depression through his performances and his music and cocaine and drugs and alcohol and
Prescription drugs.
prescription drugs. And for me, I struggle with depression daily. I fight the urge to go to those things. My family has a bit of a history with alcohol. Different people from my family, I'm not going to name anyone, but alcohol is one of those things that you can rely on, and I know drugs is a trigger for some people too. The suicide thing is something that my family has also dealt with within the family. So there are some moments in this where it is kind of triggering and it is kind of hard to deal with. But I think it's important to see that and to talk about it and understand, one, what Elton John was going through, and two, that it can happen to anybody. Anybody. It doesn't have to be some cousin's aunt or whatever. It can be your brother, your sister, anyone. So if you need help, or if you know someone who needs help, reach out, talk to them, talk to someone. Even if you don't have anybody, reach out to me in the comments or message me, and I can try to talk to you through it, because I've been there. I still go through that on a daily, because I have a depression disorder. So I do struggle with that. But for him, he finally was able to tell himself to get the help he needed, because he was in a lot of abusive relationships in his life. And I didn't realize that. He always had a happy face. He was always acting fabulous.
It just makes me think of some of his song lyrics, and I'm thinking to myself, like, were those cries for help, or were they just him telling a story?
Well, and even the song, like they play "I'm Still Standing" at the end after he's been through rehab, but he was actually still high and hadn't gotten to therapy when "I'm Still Standing" came out
Officially.
Yeah. So when that came out, that wasn't even like his peak of, here I am, I just survived rehab and I've survived all of this stuff in my life. That was him still trying to find the help. And that's really an amazing, shocking thing. So this one's kind of a rattler just because I like the story more. There were a lot of, the way they've displayed the music throughout was very smooth. I didn't even realize when they changed the song half the time until I watched it the second time. Then I was like, oh, okay. But I also got the CD. So I know which songs are on it now, and I'm a little more particular on that. But it was a really good soundtrack for it not being Elton John. I think they were able to get a little more creative with the way they did it.
According to an interview, Elton not just allowed them to do it, so that way he doesn't feel like he's interrupting Eggsy. So.
Well, that was on the CD.
Yeah.
Again, he wrote a big paragraph about how he didn't want to overshadow Eggsy, and he didn't want to, he wanted him to have a little more of a creative twist to it, because he didn't want it to be a reenactment. He wanted it to have his own take on his life, and it made it more personal, and it made it more real in some ways. So, John Reid in this was... so anyone who's watched Bohemian Rhapsody knows that John Reid was the manager for Queen. He was also the manager for Elton John. In this film, we find out that Elton John actually was pretty much in love with John Reid.
Again, we didn't know much about his past.
We knew John Reid was gay, and we knew Elton John was gay, and we thought something happened there.
Well, even still,
we didn't know.
We didn't really know as much. A few months ago, when we saw the advertisements for Rocketman, we decided let's just go on an Elton John spree and just listen to it. Put up my phone, plug YouTube in, let's just play it out. And then we realized that a whole bunch of songs we grew up listening to were Elton John, but we just never bothered to actually look and see who it was that sings it.
I did sock hops every year for Girl Scouts, and I never knew that Crocodile Rock was Elton John.
I never knew that either.
Hey!
Saturday night? The Holy Moses.
It's called Border Song.
Okay, Border Song. Yeah, Border Song I did not know, and that was one of my few favorite songs, too, and it was like...
There were a lot. There's a lot, and you find out quite a bit as you go through this film. The music itself, much less everything else. So, I really liked it. John Reid really was a jerk. His school career, he was a snake. And he screwed Elton John over, literally, and then screwed other people over. But I think really the true relationship that it focuses on in this is him and Bernie's relationship. Bernie was...
Elton's writer?
Yeah. So, Elton John was a prodigy as a child. He was actually a very talented kid. He could pinpoint notes.
Yeah, he can basically, if you play it, he could potentially copy it on piano and everything else like that. Potentially.
He was able to pick up a really good memory and ear for the stuff.
But apparently he has a lot of trouble writing.
Yeah, he struggled with lyrics, which makes sense, especially with everything that had gone on in his head, and he had issues facing his emotions, now that you think about it. So that probably has part of the issue there. But, so they hooked him up at this network with a guy named Bernie, and Bernie just wrote lyrics. He was tone deaf, so he could never figure out, like, the words or the music that went with his words. So they were kind of the perfect pairing. Elton did kind of fall for him, and I think he just needed that love, and he wanted it in a certain way, and then he realized later on in his life that it really is more of a brother relationship.
Well, I mean, first you have to establish familial love, you know?
Yeah. And that's another thing. He was never loved as a kid, so he didn't know what kind of love that was. He didn't know what kind of love he really needed or wanted. And I'm really glad that in the end of his life, he did meet David, and they've been together for 25 years, I think it said.
Well, yeah, they have a kid now, and...
Two.
He has kids now, and his final tour that's happening right now, it's the end.
Yeah. The Yellow Brick Road tour is it. And from what I understand, I think it's ended. At least that's what it said in the end credits, was it was officially ended when the movie came out. So he did a lot in his life, and he is older, but he wants to focus on his family now, and I totally understand. I mean, his whole life, all he's wanted is the family and love. So it makes sense for him to be able to focus on that and just rack in the royalties from the movie, from all his music, from all of his albums,
I mean,
from his tours, everything.
because I'm pretty sure
I'm sure
no
he
one
has
will
enough
ever
money.
stop listening to Elton John.
Right? I'm sure he has enough money for him and his family and his children for a long time. So, yeah, this was a great film. There are dark parts, there are happy parts, there are sad parts, there are funny parts. So I highly encourage watching it. This is a little different of a review, only because there is a little more history to this.
I feel like it's more of a rant. We're just going on.
Yeah, I feel like they're all rants. That's why I think making this a podcast might work. But for now, until someone lets me know, I'm just going to keep making videos of these because this is what I yearn for. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought of Rocketman. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Bye.